This is All India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you an exclusive interview with R.K. Singh, Union Minister of Power and New and Renewable Energy. The interviewer is AIR correspondent Bhupendra Singh.
Sir, India is celebrating 75 years of independence. What kind of India do you envision in the coming years which will be helpful in giving the country a new identity on the global stage in the power sector?
We have already established a new identity and a very strong identity of the power sector around in the world. Our power sector has established new records in access and in energy transition, has already done that. What we want to do in the coming 2 decades is, running up to 2047, 100 years of our independence, is to make a truly modern power sector. Before our government came to office, our country was power deficit. We made it power surplus. We added about 182,000 megawatts of generation capacity. And today we are exporting power. The availability of power in rural areas used to be about 12 hours per day in 2015. Today it is 22 hours in rural areas. In urban areas, the average, national average, this includes the northeast, is about 23 and a half hours. So this is what we have done. As I said, we have transformed the power sector from power deficit to power surplus. Universal access. When our government came to office, we had thousands and thousands of villages and hundreds and thousands, lakhs of hamlets which are not connected with electricity. We've connected every village and every hamlet. Thereafter, we decided to connect every home, and we connected 2 crore 82 lakh homes. Even now, I keep telling the states that if you have missed out any home, please go ahead and connect it. We will give you the funds for it. And this expansion of access was the largest expansion of access in the world in the shortest time frame. No other country in the world has in history provided access to 28 million people in just about 18 months. We did that. We are a world leader in energy transition. We had pledged in COP21 that by 2030, about 40% of our established capacity will be from non-fossil fuel sources by 2030. Now, already we brought about a transition of scale that 38.5% of our generation capacity is from non-fossil fuel sources already. And by 2030, actually, about 55 to 60% of our capacity will be from non-fossil fuel sources. So we are reducing our carbon footprint at a pace which is again unparalleled because of our concern for the environment. We are the only major economy whose energy transition actions are consonant with a sub-2 degree rise in global temperature. We are the only G20 country whose energy transition is on track for sub-2 degree rise in global temperature. So we are a world leader in access, world leader in energy transition, and in strengthening the distribution systems. Actually, we have strengthened the distribution systems hugely. We spent about 2 lakh crores in the past 5 years, to strengthen the distribution systems. We gave through the distribution companies and through the state governments. We constructed about 2,700 new substations. We strengthened about 3,900 odd substations, augmented their capacity. We replaced about 7.5 lakh circuit kilometers of ST lines and LT lines. We made available 6,65,000 transformers, and that is what has made this possible. The availability of power to around 24 hours throughout the day. We connected the whole country into one grid. Now it is one nation, one grid, running on one frequency. So the power sector we have transformed, and we are modernizing it. By 2030, in fact much before 2047, it will be a totally modern system. We've approved a new scheme of 3 lakh crores, under which we shall be setting up 3,785 SCADA systems, 100 distribution management systems for all the major cities. They'll have totally automatic distribution management systems.
Sir, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Jyoti Yojana and Pradhan Mantri Sahaj Bijli Har Ghar Yojana have proved instrumental in providing electricity to the households. How are these schemes providing necessary impetus to the growth of the nation?
The availability of power, because we spent almost about 2 lakh crores on strengthening the distribution system under the Deen Dayal Gram Jyoti Yojana, the IPDS and the Saubhagya, about 2 lakh crores. So one thing which it did was that it connected every village and every hamlet. We connected about 18,000 villages and hundreds and thousands of hamlets. As I said, we connected 2 crore 82 lakh houses. Once a village gets connected with electricity, the economic activity picks up. The electricity demand is also picking up because of the increasing economic activity. In fact, the electricity demand increased even during the COVID period, and it crossed 200,000 megawatts during the COVID period. And this is an indication of increased economic activity. So the children are able to study at home, and people are able to take up more vacations because electricity is available. The electricity is the most important thing for modernization. Our government has provided that.
Is there any target set by the government to provide 24-hour electricity supply to all rural and urban areas?
Absolutely. In fact, we are very close to that. As I said, we monitor the availability of electricity in all the feeders throughout the country. And this monitoring is done automatically. And what I told you is an average. It's almost 24 hours. Urban areas, 23 and a half hours is the average. This includes the Northeast, it includes Ladakh, it includes Kargil. It includes everywhere. So it's 23 and a half hours, which is almost 24 hours in all urban areas. In rural areas, it's 22 hours. And this again, the rural areas includes the Northeast and where the terrain is very difficult, and the hill areas, etc. In many states already, in rural areas also, it's almost at about 24 hours. In some states, it's about less. But average is 22 hours. So we are very close to it. And we have come out with rights of consumers. In the rights of consumers, we provided for penalties for load shedding. So if any distribution company does any load shedding, then they'll have to pay a penalty to the consumers. In fact, this is a milestone reform which we have done. We have laid down timelines for provision of services. So if you apply for connection, then that connection has to be given in a certain number of days. In the urban areas, it has to be given within 7 days. Otherwise, they'll have to pay a penalty to you. In the rural areas, it's more. I think about 30 days max or something. They have to give you a connection. Otherwise, they'll have to pay a penalty.
What is the progress on giving more choices to consumers?
That is our objective. Our objective is to give the consumers a choice. That means there has to be more than one distribution company in one particular area so that the consumer can choose whichever distribution company offers better service. And for this, we have proposed amendment to the law that is under consideration of the government. We want to amend the law to do away with licensing. We want to de-license this distribution sector. Earlier we had de-licensed generation that led to good results. In fact, India went in for de-licensing in 1991 and 1993. Earlier, if you wanted to set up any industry, you needed a license. We did away with that. And our industry started growing. Similarly, we did away with licensing in generation. Generation started growing. We want to do away with licensing in distribution. Why go in for a license Raj? There should not be any license Raj. In fact, it should be a system which is run by rules and regulations, not by licenses. The license Raj has to go.
So what are the targets set by the government to enhance electricity generation capacity along with the clean energy in the country?
As I said, we are already surplus. Our peak demand has reached about 200,000 megawatts, that is 200 gigawatts. Our established generation capacity is 384 gigawatts. That means 184,000 megawatts more than our peak demand. So we've already made our country power surplus. We are adding renewable energy to reduce our carbon footprint. We have already established capacity of 100,000 megawatts minus hydro. If you add hydro, which is also clean energy, that is also renewable, it is 146,000 megawatts. As I said, we are adding renewable energy at a pace. We are doing this energy transition at a pace which is not paralleled by any other country. And we have another about 63,000 megawatts under installation. So that will make it about 209,000 megawatts of clean energy, which is either installed or under installation. That's huge. Our Prime Minister had given us a target to reach 175 gigawatts of clean energy by 2022. Now, because of COVID, some extensions had to be given, but we are already very close to the target. So we have already established about 100 gigawatts minus hydro. With hydro, it's 146. So we are already there. And another 63,000 megawatts is under installation. Another 25,000 megawatts is under bid. So we will cross our target. Now we have set a new target for ourselves, and that target is one of the highest in the world. That is 450 gigawatts by 2030.
The Prime Minister has announced to launch a National Green Hydrogen Mission. How do you think that this mission is going to be a game changer in the future, sir?
It will be a game changer because you see right now, huge quantity of petroleum products and some quantity of coal also, coking coal especially, for making steel is imported. Now we want to reduce and do away with this dependence on imports for our energy requirements. And green hydrogen is one very major option. Green hydrogen is made by renewable energy. we have plentiful sun and we have wind. That translates into green energy. Now that green energy can produce green hydrogen. So it will be entirely made in India and it will be fossil free. That means it will be green. Our carbon footprint will come down. So we are beginning with replacing imported ammonia, which is made from natural gas and is being imported here to make fertilizers, with green ammonia being made in India. Similarly, we are going to blend green hydrogen in PNG, piped natural gas, and CNG, compressed natural gas. That will again bring our imports down. We propose to start using green hydrogen for mobility, especially heavy mobility. Again, will bring our imports down. We propose to use green hydrogen for refining. In the refinery, for refining petroleum and segregating it into diesel, petrol, etc., you need hydrogen. Right now, that hydrogen is extracted from imported natural gas. So we are replacing that. We are replacing imported natural gas by green hydrogen being made here. And that will be used for refining. So that will further bring down, the quantum of hydrogen being used for refining is about 3.5 million tons per annum. We propose to replace that with green hydrogen. So green hydrogen is going to make us self-reliant. It will reduce our dependence on imports of energy to a huge extent, and that is why we want to go in that direction. In fact, the whole world is going in that direction.
So the government has launched the Go Electric campaign this year to promote adoption of energy-efficient electric vehicles and cooking appliances. So how is this campaign going to be beneficial for the public?
Switching over to electric mobility reduces emissions to zero, number one. So that is one thing which we have to. The other thing which is beneficial for us is we have to import hydrocarbons. We have to import petroleum. Now this will do away with our requirement of imports. So that is why we need to switch over to electrical mobility.
So what steps are to be taken by the government to create and increase the electric vehicle charging infrastructure to promote electric vehicles across the country?
We have already taken a number of steps. We have opened up the sector. Now anybody is free to set up a charging station. Anybody. You don't need a license for that. We've also permitted use of electricity at rates of domestic power for charging. So you can charge your vehicle at home using your domestic connection. You don't need a separate connection for that. We've liberalized it. We've laid down standards which are universal. We are not saying that use only this standard. So we've liberalized it thoroughly. And we've also asked different government companies to start setting up charging stations. Because charging stations will be viable if there are more vehicles, and more vehicles will be available only if there are charging stations. So both are interdependent. So we are pushing on both.
Sir, to promote indigenous power and renewable energy equipments manufacturing sector, what measures have been taken by the government to make India self-reliant?
We've decided. First, we found that some countries were dumping solar cells and modules at very low prices in India. That was harming our industry. So we put in place a safeguard duty of 15%. Now that safeguard duty is going to come to an end, but we are going to put in place. It will be replaced by customs duty. So from April 22, there will be customs duty of 40% on imported modules and 25% on imported cells. Now that will give the protection to our industry so that our industry will grow. Even as soon as we announced it, a number of companies announced plans to set up manufacturing facilities here. Earlier, we had manufacturing facilities for about 9,000 megawatts of modules. Now we have got expressions of interest for setting up manufacturing facilities for 25,000 megawatts of module manufacturing and the same quantity of cell manufacturing. So we have made sure that anybody who sets up manufacturing facility here, he is not hurt by dumping. Similarly, we've put in place a system called ALLM, under which we approve models and manufacturers, and that approval is given only after inspecting the manufacturing facilities so that the quality of the equipment is good. We don't use substandard quality, and we only impanel such manufacturers and such models which are made in India by and large, because we are able to control their quality. So that is another protection for Make in India. All this has led a number of companies announcing the setting up of manufacturing facilities in India.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You were listening to an exclusive interview with R.K. Singh, Union Minister of Power and New and Renewable Energy. The interviewer was AIR correspondent Bhupendra Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official. You may email your opinion about this program at airnsdtalks@gmail.com.